SD in the building. What's going on, sir? All right. Oh, we got Ian Jensen in the building too. Hold on. All right. Crystal, where you at? Come on up, sis. All right. What's up, Ian?
Yo, good morning. Man, who the hell you had to bribe to get all these spaces on your live?
Oh no, I'm G26 classified clearance. It's probably you probably don't probably you've never heard of that.
Probably came standard issue with that pink cup, huh? Hey, brother, good morning.
Good morning, man. First of all, it's mauve.
It's mauve. That is a fuchsia, and I don't even want.
It's not just pink; it's hot pink too. So you know how look, we pick out coffee cups like we pick out our underwear. If they're functional, we gonna wear them. Oh, that one's still good. We can wear
That's it. Holds coffee. Good
them.
cup.
Hey man. All right, folks. My name is Otis James. I am a well, hold on, let me click the button first. Ladies and gentlemen. Actually, you know what? I had a voiceover. I had my intro done voiceover like I'm gonna try to find it for y'all one of these days. For when I go on stage, I had somebody do my introduction for when I go on stage and I'm speaking at events. I'm gonna start playing that before I jump on here. All right, folks. My name is Otis James. I'm a full time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I am a licensed real estate broker in California. I'm a licensed real estate broker in Georgia. I spent over 2 decades in the multifamily commercial industry on the operations side. I went from entry level, exited at the corporate level, overseeing about $650 million in multifamily commercial assets. I'm a long term hold investor. I've bought and sold properties all over the country. Selling off now, so I have less doors than I had last year. I'm a former mortgage broker. We funded just under $1 billion in the 13 years. We had a very small office. Just under $1 billion in the 13 years that we were uh, having the brokerage. Me and my father, and there was about 9 of us altogether. I am also a consultant on development projects. I've consulted on projects domestic in multiple municipalities here in the States and abroad in different areas in Africa, specifically Senegal, Gambia. I consulted on about 11 projects over there, light consulted because quiet as kept. I don't think they needed me on all of them, but I got to meet with some pretty important people, some generals, and the vice president of Gambia, and some mayors, and governors, and it was a really good trip. I believe that people should know all of the real estate investing strategies. I don't think just one or two is going to be enough to get you to survive. As a seasoned real estate investor, I am also the founder of the Four Data Points Academy. So it is the only training platform that doesn't have an end date. We take people from zero knowledge all the way to the promised land. So somebody comes in, they know nothing. Some people know a little bit. Maybe some people have flipped a few homes here and there. And because we don't have an end date, we evolve with them through their entire journey. So we've had people come in with absolutely no knowledge. Now they're, pushing 30 doors, and they're, getting vertically integrated with multiple businesses, all within the real estate investing space. And now we're coaching them more on the entrepreneurial side of what it is that they're doing. So when people come and join our family, it's blood in, blood out. They're with us for life. But a lot of people don't understand how to become a real estate investor. Like what is it, right? And what you see is typically the highlights, right? The stuff you see on Instagram and TikTok and all these other platforms. And unfortunately, a lot of mentors and coaches, and they don't share the losses. And I'm very transparent because I need the longevity to be in play when I'm dealing with somebody. And not only do we share the losses in the dark side of real estate investing, we actually focus on that in the beginning so that people can protect themselves first. I think that's the most important part of being a real estate investor, is understanding how to protect yourself, understanding how not to get into a deal that you can't get out of. And we have a reputation for simplifying it so we can bring complicated strategies to the average person wanting to get into the real estate investing space. Now, everything I say, you can vet. My history, you can vet. I'm sure it's all over the internet and whatever means that you guys use to vet, whether it's LinkedIn or Google reviews or any of that stuff. I am happy to answer all questions. If there is something that, if there's a question that I get and it involves something that I haven't done in a really long time, or it's outside my area of expertise, I will tell you it's outside my area of expertise. And, you know, if you're one of my students, I can put you in contact with one of the consultants that I work with for that thing. For example, many times we have conversations about legal structure and, you know, LLCs and C corps and all this other stuff. Now, those things are a part of my life, but I don't teach those, and I don't feel that I'm qualified to teach about those things because, one, I don't have the credentials, and I can only share my experience. Issue with that is my experience is not going to be your experience. We have different assets, we have different financial objectives, we have different setups, right? So I would refer you to one of our consultants on something like that. Now, I don't care if it's a big question, a small question, what you feel is a smart question, what you think is a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. And I guarantee if you have the question, somebody else probably has a question too. Now, I'm gonna have some friends coming through. Dwayne Williams can help with that. Dwayne can. Matter of fact, Crystal, if you hear Crystal, see if Dwayne is available to jump on. I don't think he's live streaming this morning. You folks on Clubhouse, we don't. This is I scheduled this room because I was asked to. Normally, we already stopped scheduling rooms on Clubhouse, but I'll do a pop up room if I happen to be streaming somewhere else. But I may do maybe I'll do go back to doing a weekly one on Clubhouse. The goal is to educate people in the world of real estate investing. The goal is also to give you enough information and understanding about real estate investing without you having to pay for it, so you could go out there and experience it at least at some level. So how do I do that? I typically have a guide that I give people. It's called the Four Data Points Guide because your whole real estate investing world revolves around four questions when you're looking at one subject property. So, what are those four questions? What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? We call that the foundation of real estate. The answers to those questions are going to let you know the pathway forward. And once we learn how to master those four questions, then we get into the structuring the deals creatively and the seller financing and all that other stuff, all the other exotic stuff, right? That people seem to be selling nowadays. But because people are with me for a very long time, we don't have the luxury of just sensationalizing certain aspects of real estate to get clients because once they're with us, they're with us. I got to look at them in the eye probably 3, 4 times a week until they decide they no longer need us. Now, every time you guys hear me pause, I'm going to be sipping my coffee. So don't worry, the sound is still good. All right. So let's jump into it. What is real estate investing? Well, you buy something, make it worth more than you bought it for, and then you leverage it to buy another one or you sell it and then reinvest the money somewhere else. That's what real estate investing really is. How do you get started is the issue. So you ever feel like you drawn a blank before you even get to the topic that you were. Hmm. I had some crazy dreams last night, and I think it's because I take edibles to help me sleep. It makes it a little, and I sleep very, very well on them. But I had some crazy dreams
Were
last
you a
night.
unicorn?
No, I was I'm always a war hero, right? Like I'm always I'm always a war hero, and I'm always replaying. See, some of us aren't. So you and Ian are actual war heroes. So for you, it's for you guys. It's just not. It's just Monday to you guys. But for me, I rewrite the whole story in my sleep. I went to and we're gonna jump in a second, folks. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to show up. If you guys are on TikTok, go ahead and share the room. If you guys are on Clubhouse, don't be embarrassed to share the room. I won't embarrass you. You can bring company up in here. So I went to, you know what happened when I went to Anthony when I went to the SAR program, right? Did I tell you about that in the Navy?
You told me a little bit, but I want new people to hear it.
So I saw Top Gun and I figured, oh well, shoot, I want to do that. I want to fly a plane like that. So I went to the Navy recruiter and said, hey, I want to be a pilot. Navy recruiter goes, absolutely, come on in and fill out this application. Like they just giving out $40 million planes to 18-year-olds. And Got in there, went through the appointment, talked through it, and then realized, okay, it's probably not going to be. I got to have a degree to be. I'm probably not going to do that. What else you got? He goes, well, I can put you in search and rescue, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. Search and rescue. So they put me in search and rescue, and I get into boot camp, and I'm thinking search and rescue is just like it sounds, right? Somebody is kidnapped by the hostage or by the terrorists. They're gonna send me in, kick the door, and pop, pop, and then they rescue them, bring them back, carry them over my shoulder, right, in slow motion, probably if it's played out like I'm seeing it in my mind, and and I'm the hero over and over and over, and that's just what I'm going to be doing. That's my career, saving people that need to be rescued. Okay, so I'm in boot camp. Shout out to Great Lakes Division 256. I'm in boot camp, and they call me out of my division by myself. And folks, we're gonna get into real estate in a second. I'm just warming up my throat. They call me out of boot camp all by myself, and they tell me to go to the gymnasium. So I come out, go to the gymnasium, but walk in there. There's probably about I don't know 50, 60 people sitting on the bleachers, and they're all white. Now I don't know if I don't do white folks do this? Do y'all when y'all walk in? Do you guys pay attention to how maybe you guys don't have to, but black folks, this is what we do because we walk into certain spots. It's a safety mechanism. So I'm the only black dude in there. So I'm like, I'm uneasy. Right? Because something's telling me I'm not supposed to be here. So I go sit on the bleachers, and they're like, all right, you're here for the swim test. And I was like, that's weird. Why am I here for the swim test? And I'm the only one in my division that has to take a swim test. So, all right. So they tell us what we're going to do. They say you're going to get up and they don't tell us all at once. They just tell us each point. So they say, all right, you're going to get up on the 10-foot diving board, jump in the pool, swim to the side. I was like, got that all day. So I get up on the diving board, jump in the pool, boom, 10 feet, swim to the side. I get out. I'm like, cool. All right. Am I going to come back? Should we wrap up? Or they were like, no, that's just a start. Next, they go, you're going to get back on the diving board, and then you're going to jump in the water, but you got to tread water for 5 minutes. Now, this is where the cultures divide. I don't know how to tread water, and I just know I'm a destination swimmer, right? I'm a reason swimmer, right? I got to have a reason to swim. Like the boat tipped over, or my child fell into the water. I got to go get him. It's just bam, point A, point B. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to outsmart the system. I'll just swim in circles for 5 minutes. Again, not an experienced swimmer. So I jumped in, boom, I'm swimming in circles for about a minute and 30 seconds. And now I'm getting tired. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't, this is not, and it ain't like elegant swimming. It's like swimming to survive in circles. And meanwhile, so it's me and, a bunch of the other sailors jumped in there. They're just talking. Like they're in there. Some of them are floating. I don't know how white people swim better than us. I'm just going to say it. I don't know. You can say whatever you want to about stereotypes. White people
That's
can
true.
swim naturally, born that way. Black people, something had to happen for where we learned how to swim. So it's about 2 minutes in. I am exhausted. And I'm like, but I got a lot of pride. And I figure, look, I'm just going to do what I would do in the ocean, swim next to somebody white. So, because white people will save you too, which is what I love. I think it's just one thing I love about them. They will save you. So they're talking about what they're going to do, this weekend. I'm looking over. Some of them aren't even moving. They're just floating in place. I don't know how I float in place. I start going to the bottom.
Yeah, you fight for your life.
I am fighting for my life, right? And I don't know how uncool I looked, but I can imagine a black dude doing the doggy paddle in circles around a group of white dudes is not the most superhero type of image that I'm portraying here. So I'm exhausted. I can't go no more, but I'm not going to quit. But I know they have the Navy SEALs are underwater and they're for safety reasons, and they're just making sure that nobody, I guess nobody dies. So I know they're under there. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pretend that I swam so hard I got exhausted, and then I just started sinking because I passed out from exhaustion. So I'm gonna just do that. And then they could be like, man, the guy didn't pass, but he had heart. He fought to the end. So my plan is to have this Navy SEAL come save me, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't know how, and I look stupid. I don't know how to act like I'm exhausted, but I was like, oh, I just start floating, right? And I'm sinking down a little bit. I don't want to sink too low, but I'm sinking down a little bit. And I open my eyes a little bit and I could see that he's like approaching, like he's curious to see what it is. But I'm out of breath. I can't hold my breath while this dude figures it out to make it. So I said, let me just reach out to him just to help him a little bit, to help him get closer faster. What ensued after that was the most demeaning set of events that I've ever experienced as a man and a human being. I went to reach out for this grown man. He grabbed my wrist, turned my wrist, put me in a full Nelson. I don't know what type of underwater jujitsu they teach these superheroes. Put me in a full Nelson, picked me up out of the water, and took me over to the side. This is where I have a problem. I was embarrassed, but I also felt so safe in his arms, and I didn't know how to process that because I'm a grown man too, and I wanted to something like something in me wanted to be like, so what you doing later? If you're not doing nothing, maybe we could just go grab something to eat. So this man put me up on the side of the pool, and I got kicked out the program. So they're looking at they're telling me, all right, go back to your division. And one of the chiefs that were there were walking me back, and and he was like, dude, what did you think the SAR program was? What do you think search and rescue was? I was like, search for people and you rescue them. He goes, bruh, search and rescue, you're going out over the ocean in a helicopter and you're jumping into the ocean and rescuing people and then you're that guy. And I was like, well, that wasn't in the brochure at all. Right. There's nothing like that in the brochure. So that's how I got into communications in the Navy. That's how I got into communications in the Navy. So shout out to that Navy SEAL who saved me and made me feel more feminine than I've ever felt in my
Bro,
in my
what's funny about that whole scenario is that when you when you was in that water, man, and the YT people were swimming, they just be saying stuff. I know in their head they was like, "We got another brother down."
they had to. Oh, but it
Because
gets
that story
worse.
right there is only about 2 minutes, man. It
Yes.
sounds long, but when you feel like you're about to drown in the water,
Oh man, this is where it
it
gets
be a
worse.
mess.
I failed that swim test, and then we went back for the regular swim test, just the regular one to be in the Navy, and it was everybody. Failed that one too. Had to come back. So all the people that, and we can talk about how we don't like stereotypes or none of that stuff, and I get it, but there's also the real world out there too, right? So I had to go back. Not so I failed that search and rescue one. I failed the regular one. So then I had to go back to try to pass the regular one with everybody else who failed. When I tell you I walked into that gym and it had to be 150 to 200 people in the bleachers, all black. There was not a single white dude there. It was all black. And so so white people, if you ever, want to approach one of us and be like, y'all can't swim, huh? It's not racist. There's something to that. So, now I got it. Now it's me and all these black dudes are looking at me, and I know some of them, and they're like, "What? I thought you were from California." I was like, "Yeah, I'm from California." They're like, "How you can't swim? You from California?" I'm like, "Man, we don't live in the water. I live on land just like you." These dudes were Alabama, Mississippi, and all these other places. So so I got to watch everybody. So I had something up on everybody. I could at least swim destination, right? I can't tread water. I couldn't tread water back then. I can now, but so I get to watch all these black folks try to pass this test, and they jumped off this. I saw one dude. He had to be 6'2", all muscle, right? All muscle. I would not want to approach this dude in an alley, right? You talk about defying physics. I saw these brothers that was so scared. One guy got pushed off the diving board, turned around in midair and grabbed the diving board and was hanging from the diving board. And these chiefs and the people that were running it, they're trying to be as professional as possible, but some of this stuff was so funny, man. Like it was a whole anyway. It was a whole thing. So shout out. That was gosh, that was 30 years ago. That was 30 years ago. Man, I can't believe it's been that long. Damn, I look good. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I thought I was on mute. All right. All
Hey,
right.
bro, there ain't no pools in the hood, man. Keeping it real,
Man.
That's the same thing. And I know the reason why this story is funny, but it's true, is that, I had 7 years of making Marines, man. And down there, pool was a kryptonite, man. That's where, that's where a lot of people that wanted to do elite stuff wash out. It's true.
Yep.
Now, we're not saying that all, my brown brothers and sisters can't swim, but it is a big difference that,
Yeah.
that pool be, that pool been bodying people since 1775, Jack.
Oh man. All right. Let's get into it. I think I shared too much with y'all. Y'all didn't heard that story before. I'm sure some of y'all heard that story before. All right. Let me see. Michelle says I was a diver in high school and loved swimming. Amen, Michelle. No, we all know one black person that can swim, but I bet we can name them too. Like in my world, it was like, oh, Chris Jacobs. Yeah, he could. He's the swimmer out of us. Because my logic is, why would I ever choose to go in the water and swim? Now I got kids and I got to be out there like in the pool and doing all that. Dad, you can swim well. Well, doesn't help that your mom is Salvadorian, and son, your mom is Dominican, and other son, your mom is white, and other son, you're. I'm sorry. Am I? Oh, I thought I was on mute. I'm not on. Hello. I'm not on mute. Okay. All right. So let's jump back into real estate investing and how to get started. I always say get started with the education. Now, Anthony, what do you guys teach on? You have something where people can, especially agents, give a few things, right? Where people can come in, learn how to invest in real estate. But you also have something for real estate agents to get referrals from your company. Is that correct? Like real estate, the people that are getting into real estate, they want to be a representative for VA loans, and you give them leads. And explain that real quick.
Yes, brother. We have something called Win in Real Estate, where we teach agents how to be top producers, and it's a Facebook group and a YouTube channel where we coach people on how we were able to get leads. We generate 1,000 leads a month. So, and it's all organic. We have a real estate brokerage out here, and we have partnered with Otis. So, for those of you seeking to get into the sales community and you're looking to, get your production up, it's called Win in Real Estate. Okay, and the information is in my bio if you guys are interested. And just like this, we partnered with Grant Cardone to teach real estate people who want to get into real estate, veterans who want to get into multifamily investing, excuse me, or starting from scratch. We teach you all of the components of getting into, starting the business, structuring the business, and then scaling the business. And, this is, specifically for veterans on how to do that and real estate agents. And then for those of you that are looking to invest, I mean, we graduated from Otis class, myself and Ian. So that's why we decided to partner with him. So if you're interested in that, hit us up because you do not have to be in real estate sales in order to become an investor. But if you want to go that direction, we will put you a part of the Otis team. And then for those buyers and sellers that want to come through us, hit us up and then we'll put you in the program.
Amen. So I have the link to their Facebook group too. They got a really good. Sorry, folks, I'm multitasking here. They've got a significant amount of people in that Facebook group, and they give out some really good information. So one of the common denominators between myself, Anthony, Ian, and his team, and the James and all the people that I work with is it's not so much about the information as it is about the support, which is why we give a lot of the information away for free. And people have come to me and said, hey man, you could get more people to sign up for your real estate family if you didn't give everything away for free. And I explained to them that the type of people that sign up for our real estate family for Data Points Academy is they've already tried it on their own. So they've already seen, they've had a taste of what real estate investing is, and I've given them enough information to go ahead and move forward, and they can see all the different challenges that come about. So when they have a conversation with me, it's different. They actually have an understanding of how difficult it can really be, and then there's an appreciation there for what it is I do on the mentorship side. So that being said, how do we get oh, actually, you know what? Ingrid, how you doing? I'm sorry. Keisha and Ingrid. Y'all, I just want to make sure you guys don't have any questions before I jump in there. How you doing, sis? We'll go
Hi,
Ingrid
good
first.
morning. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. The question I had, I know a little bit about investing. I've flipped properties before with clients in a partnership. One other thing I'm not sure I understand how to do is how to invest in any real estate without any money. I
Mhm.
know I've heard people saying you can. Can you go over that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear an accent. Where is that accent from?
I was born in Haiti.
Haiti. Okay. All
I've
right.
been here 30 years. Yeah.
Everybody got a better accent than Americans. Y'all ever y'all I hear my I go over I do different parts of Africa and all Haiti and all other places, Jamaica, and it's just all right, I'm sorry. All right, so how do we do that? So when
Mhm.
they talk about buying real estate for zero money, it can be misleading if they leave it at that. So when I teach people how to do that, I teach it more as a survival skill and not something that you build a business model around. So let me diagram it for you. So if you're going to buy real estate with zero money up front, what you're doing is you're paying out of your exit strategy. The magic pill is you got to get your name on the deed before you pay for the property. And in order to do that, you have to make the seller feel safe enough to be able to deed a property over to you and delay payment. So there's four components to structuring a deal creatively. Number one, you got to run the four data points because you got to see if it's even worth it. There's a lot of sellers or shady investors that will make a deal really attractive on a non performing asset, make it real easy to get just so they can reap the benefits of the debt against it while you, as the new investor, worry about service requests and fixing toilets and all that other stuff. So let me
Mhm.
explain. So you got to run the four data points. That's the component number one. That means when you have a subject property in mind, you ask four questions. What does it cost, or what am I willing to pay? What does it cost if it's for sale? What am I willing to pay if it's off market? What's it going to cost me to fix it up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Now, once you've answered those four questions, you've got to determine, okay, well, what do they tell you? I'm not going to get into that just yet, but let's assume that this property passes muster. Component number two is you've got to get the property in your name before you pay for it. Now, you're going to go in contract to pay for it at a later time. So you are going to be locked into paying for it. So you have to understand how to incorporate a seller financing component. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean long term seller financing, doesn't mean you're going to be making payments over time to the seller, just a seller financing component. And by that, I mean you've got to implement two documents. One is a note because you're getting your name on the deed before you have to pay for it, but you have to have a promise to pay for it, a promissory note. So that's an agreement between you and the seller saying, hey, I will pay for this at a given time. The second document is what we call a security instrument. Most of you are familiar with what that is. A security instrument is another document that, when registered with the county in conjunction with that note, it puts a lien on the property and gives the seller the power to foreclose if you default on the note. Okay. That's component number two. So, component number two is get your name on the deed before you have to pay for it. Component number three, you've got to be able to add value. You got to make the property worth more than you bought it for, because out of that value, that new created value, you are going to leverage that and pay the seller out of that. Right.
Mhm. Okay. So you're saying, so I have a property I'm looking at right now.
Mm-hmm.
The the owner only has a lien of 70,000 on it.
Okay.
And it's going in foreclosure in 3 weeks. So I've been trying to talk to her and trying to make a deal with her. So she has family, yada yada.
Okay.
So you saying in a situation like that, I can talk her into having me put my name on the deed, have some type of security note with her.
hmm So if she's going into foreclosure, that means there's a mortgage on it. So it's done different if there's a mortgage on it, because as soon as she deeds it over to you, it's going to trigger the due on sale clause. They're going to call the entire loan due. So now we're getting into what we call subject to financing, which means she can deed it over to you, but I would use an entity that doesn't violate the mortgage agreement, like a trust. But before you even go there, let's talk about that property. How much have you had a conversation with this person about price, what you would buy it for?
Yeah, I have my partner actually talking to her.
Okay, how
So
much?
we,
How much?
yeah. She says she wants 300, but the property is huge. It's probably worth 600,000. So we're trying to get it for 150, 175. We're not trying to pay because it's going to cost another 150 to renovate.
There we go. So that's a 4 data point. So what does it cost? 150,000. What does it cost to fix up? You said another 150?
Yeah.
Another 150,000. What's it going to be worth when we're done? You said about 600,000?
Yeah, I'll say 675.
Okay, let's say I'm going to say 600 just because I still need 6 credits to graduate junior college, so 600 is a round number, but you'll get the concept. So, how much does it rent out for if you were going to decide to keep it? Do you know?
It's a single family, so maybe 5,000.
5,000. Okay. All right. And we don't have to know for sure. These are just preliminary. So we've got our data points. What does it cost? 150. What does it cost to fix up? Another 150. What's it going to be worth when we're done? 600 plus. How much can it rent out for? $5,000 a month. Now, I know that. I'll just do 650. I got a calculator right here. Let me say 650 for the value. All right. So first of all, now we've got the answers to those 4 questions. We got to see what those answers tell us first. Okay. Now I know that $650,000, if we can make it worth that, then we can pull money out of the house, 80% of that. We can get an 80% mortgage on that $650,000. So 650,000 times 0.80 equals 520. So I'm going to write down 520 because that's going to be our final mortgage. And again, we're just running the 4 data points. We're just seeing what it tells us. So I know a $520,000 mortgage, what's that going to cost me? Now, if we use asset-based lending, hard money, it's going to be a little higher interest, but they'll pay for the rehab. So I'm going to put 520,000 in my little payment calculator, see how much that's going to cost me. I'll do an interest rate of, I'll do 7.25. Let's do 7.25.
10% around here.
You said 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, 10%. Let's do 10%. So 10%, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The good thing is that the taxes are assessed based on the purchase price of 150. So let me lower the taxes just a little bit because it's not going to be based on the loan amount. What state is this in?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. All right. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So I know right now that mortgage is going to cost about $5,000. So 4,900 and some change. So I'm going to say that's going to even out the $5,000. So we know we're not going to keep this. This is probably going to be a flip because it's barely going to generate enough income to service the debt against it. And then once you calculate vacancy loss and some of these other factors, you'll be in the negative. So this just became a flip, right? Is that what you had in mind, a flip?
Yeah, that's the intention, is to flip it.
Okay. So now there is no 80% mortgage. It's just straight math. You're going to be all in 300,000. It's going to be worth 650. So that's a $350,000 delta minus points and fees, cost to sell it and all that other stuff. So that is good. So it passes muster on the 4 data points. Now, okay. So now let's look at paying out of your exit strategy. And paying out of your exit strategy doesn't have to be a refinance. It could be paying out of the sale. All right. So what if they deed the property over to you today, and I would use a what do you call it? I would use a trust, but I would use a land trust, okay, or real estate privacy trust. Same thing, land trust. And then I would talk to a qualified professional to see, okay, who's going to be the beneficiary of that trust. For me, it's one of my other entities, but talk to a qualified professional to see who's going to be the trustee, who's going to be the beneficiary. If you want my recommendation on how I'm set up, just reach out to me, and I will give you. I'll show you how I usually arrange this. But
Okay.
now the property is deeded over to the trust. Then all you have to do, the trust can borrow funds to fix it up. So a trust can go to a hard money lender and say, "Hey, look, I got a rehab, 150,000." They'll look at the 4 data points. If you're going to flip it, then you've got some good equity in there, but it belongs to the trust. So now they deed it over to you. You just put it on the market for 650,000. When it sells for 650,000, out of the seller's proceeds, you're going to pay the seller out of that, right?
Okay. So
So, but that's not going to be your challenge. You said this goes into foreclosure 3 weeks. In 3 weeks.
yeah, so what I was thinking about doing is paying that off. It's 70 grand. I was gonna pay it off. Um, Definitely put my LLC on the deed or my name on the deed, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna give her some money temporarily until she moves out, and then have an agreement with her. I was kind of gonna do the same thing, but not as structured as you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something real quick, Otis, if you
Yeah, go
don't
ahead.
mind?
Go ahead.
I want to jump in and say one quick thing. How did you figure out that that property in New Jersey would generate $5,000?
I'm a real estate broker.
Okay. So this is fair market rent for that area.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I want to, and the reason why I asked that question is because majority of the people are projecting that those numbers based off of short-term rentals or anything else, and I want to conscious people about that. This is not for you, but just for the listening experience. Anytime you're doing any type of underwriting or anything in regard to rent, fair market rent, you always want to go conservative and never do it off of a program that could be shut down. A lot of people are making that mistake in this market. So that's the first thing. And then in addition to that, uh, if your LLC, this has happened to me. I've talked to a bunch of people. A lot of people are transferring the deed or having a corporation.
Uh-huh.
This happens a lot to new investors or people who are trying to do that. Essentially, what happens is that once you transfer that deed into that corporation name or whatever, okay, it, especially of what type of loan it is, that means that that person has done that, and what'll happen is that they will expedite that loan and it'll balloon the payment, making you have to pay it off typically within 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why Otis is telling you to do it, the transfer into a trust, because that doesn't trigger the due on sale clause for the actual investor. Because now when the corporation owns the property,
Mhm.
right, then the corporation didn't qualify for their owner occupant property. And that's the reason why sometimes it triggers a due on sale clause, because they'll report that to uh, the the lien holder. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we
So I
see
just
a lot
wanted
of
to
that.
point that out because there's a lot of people on TikTok right now and all the other social platforms telling people to do that. And then a lot of people get in trouble when they're doing these transactions, especially wholesalers and stuff like that that are getting into the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I think your challenge is time. But if you've got the capital to pay it off 100%, then time is not going to be a factor for you. But now you've got to look at, okay, you're paying it off 70,000. So now you just got to include that $70,000 payoff into your final numbers. I
Mhm.
would have it deeded over to you before you deploy any capital, because if you're going to pay it off anyway, who cares about the due on sale clause? You're going to you got to order the payoff from the lender anyway. So so it really, I get nervous, deploying capital for property that I don't already own. And I'm not sure if that's what you had planned on doing. I'm just cautioning you. But that's pretty simple. If it's got $650,000 in potential value and you're able to go all in at 300, then I think you're going to be good to go. I don't see any issues there. Was there something else you were concerned about that deal?
That deal, I think, I mean, I definitely want to talk to you more about it. I think I want to structure it a little bit better than what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as hearing that people be buying properties for no cash, that was mostly one of my concerns, because
Yeah.
sometimes I don't want to put my capital out.
Yeah.
It's a way I can keep it and still make a deal. That's what I want to learn how to do.
Yeah, so I teach my students the mechanics of setting that up. But I also, I manage their expectations too. I said that's probably not something you can build a business model around because number one, it's misleading the way that's taught on social media, right? I think they highlight it like it and they sensationalize it. Hey, buy a house for $500 or buy a house for $1. I can teach you how. You see a lot of that clickbait stuff out there. But if you don't have a way to get in the conversation in the first place, that means you've got to be marketing and and that takes money, right, to generate these conversations. So in your case, what I would do is if I was looking to start doing that going forward, now we got to start creating lists. And we've got to start looking for people in a particular situation that either don't have or want to spend the money to get the property where it needs to be able to sell. Or they're in a situation where they're either getting foreclosed on or they're behind on property taxes, some problem that we're going to solve. In order to do that, that takes money. And sometimes if you're a real estate broker, so you know what it's like to farm. How long have you been in real estate?
10 years.
10 years. Okay, so you've been in real estate for some time. See, I was in real estate back when they didn't have all this technology and you had to you had to go down to make copies of on you for flyers and put them on people's doors. Okay. So
I do that now with the foreclosure list.
amen. Amen.
You
So
know.
so you just got to have a marketing plan to be able to generate as many conversations as possible because you may find a lot of people willing to do that, but they don't have the equity. Or you may have a lot of people willing to do that, but it doesn't pass muster when you run the 4 data points. So I teach that, but I also teach people, look, I wouldn't depend on that. If you have the more capital you can deploy, the easier it is, the faster you get to your financial objective as a real estate investor. All of the
Mhm.
creative stuff I teach as a survival skill, as a tool, so that when things go bad, you can pull that tool out and hunt with it. So
Mhm.
so yeah, it's relatively easy. If you reach out to me, just if you that number above my head, if you just text the word yes to that number, I can send you the guide that I use or I that I use that I created to give people an idea of how I assess deals right off the bat because there's an abundance of deals out there. The problem is most of them are trash and some of them are really easy to get into. So be cautious when a seller's willing to get as creative as possible to help you get into a property. There may be some ulterior motives there. Amen.
All right. Thank you so much. And I already texted you on that number.
Well, all right. Uh,
All right. Thank you.
all right. Stick around. Let
All
me
right.
see. KCK. Is that Keith? How come you don't send notices anymore of when you go live? Are you still doing Clubhouse? I'm on Clubhouse. We on Clubhouse right now. You can follow me. Every time I do this live stream, I think that's Keisha. Anytime I do a live stream, now I'll just add Clubhouse to the roster so they can listen in. And I'll live stream multiple places at one time so I can justify the time in doing that. But I don't, I don't know. I'm working on this new CRM and, sorry. I'll start doing it, Keisha. I'll start doing it. All right. All right. So how do people get into real estate investing? I always say start with the education. So there's different ways people have to start. Sometimes people can't afford the education. So if you were just looking at like real estate investing courses or something small like that, that shouldn't be more than a couple $100, right? They shouldn't be charging you $10,000 for a bunch of information you could have Googled on the internet or Chat GPT. Okay. Where your money needs to be spent on the real estate education side is the support. Okay. How much support do you get when you're actually out there in the real world, right? The practical application of the things that you're learning. How much support do you get? That is where the money comes, right? Because that costs people to do that. Like it costs me something to be available to answer the phone at any time should one of my students get in a jam, right? If one of my students calls me at 10 o'clock at night and says, hey, I've got to do this contract. I got to redo this contract or I got to add an addendum. It expires at midnight. I don't know how I'm stuck. I have to get up and go into my office, have them send me the contract. And because, I can do it faster, send it to me. I'll go ahead and fix it, send it back to you, and then they're good to go. Any other organization you call at 10 o'clock at night, you get in voicemail. But I understand as a real estate investor, sometimes these things happen. All right. And not only that, we've got to support this person, not just for the first month, not for the first 6 months, not for the first year, not for the first 2 years, but any time they get into a situation for as long as they're affiliated with us. And they're affiliated with us in perpetuity, right? And so someone says, how, well, that's, as an organization, that's going to cost you too much. How do you do that? How do you have people pay once and allocate time and resources to them in perpetuity without going bankrupt? So I'm banking on the fact that I can teach you enough. I've been teaching people for a long time, that I can teach you enough to where you'll need me less and less over time. Now, if you need me a year or two from now, as much as you needed me on day one, that means I have failed you as a mentor and we have failed you as an organization, right? Because you need to be self-sufficient at some point. But if you're not, we're always going to be here. And that is very, very expensive to maintain. So if you guys, it doesn't have to be with me, but if you guys are looking for, mentorship, it's okay to take the courses. It's okay to take the shorter programs. I know some really good ones out there, but just understand, what you're getting and what you're paying for. I know some people will take a course and then they won't be as effective as they thought they could be. And then they'll get mad at the course. No, that course was put together to provide information about a given thing. It's not mentorship. So understand what you're getting. I don't do courses, not because they're bad, because my purpose is turning people into seasoned real estate investors, not just getting them close, right? I do have a course, but it's only for people that are already in our program. And we're using it as a study tool for them. It's not something that I sell to the general public. And I believe in that so much that I put a course together that was fully automated. It was a good revenue stream. It cost me about $20,000 to put it together. I never had to touch it. There was another organization running it. And I called them one day. I was like, you got to shut it down, man. I'm going to shut it down. And they were trying to convince me not to. So then they want to put me on the phone with the founder of, right, the main. And my logic was, look, I don't want people being associated with my name or our company name and not being able to be successful as a real estate investor. So if you just take that course, then people can be out there saying, yeah, I took Otis's course, not 4 Data Points Academy, right? Otis's course, and I could only be so effective. And that's very, very misleading, right? And plus, I don't want people with those false expectations. It's just a whole bunch of that, right? That's where my mind was with it, so I shut it down. So understand what you're getting when you buy some of these things. Now, there's some more involved courses that are, it could be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, but they probably get into multifamily, commercial, and some other stuff, right? But I'm talking about your basic course. Like, I want to learn the Burr method. That shouldn't be too expensive, right? So just understand what you're getting. Again, I'm not saying that these courses and things are bad. I'm just saying, don't go to the Ford Focus dealership looking to get a Benz. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's move forward. All right, Ingrid, did you have something else, or are you good to go? I think we took care of Ingrid. All right. So outside of you're good to go. Okay. So stick around. If you have any more questions, Ingrid, feel free, and I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, I'll be here.
Amen. All right. Let me see. You are funny, and getting us laughing first helps a lot for those of us who don't know you well. Well, Michelle, you better get to know you, boy. Let me see. Ganetta, yep, I see it all the time being a lender. Absolutely. So quick recap, folks. We're talking about how to get started as a real estate investor. I've managed people's expectations. I think there needs to be more of that in the real estate investing education industry, but I see it all the time. And because our organization is typically where people end up last, because after us, you shouldn't have to go anywhere else. If there's something that we don't teach directly that we feel is pertinent to the real estate investing world, we will stop and we will create a curriculum for that one thing and then teach it on the spot. So all of the continuing education, we stay on top of that. For example, one of the advantages of not having an end date is everybody in our real estate family, first of all, I take full responsibility for their success, whether I should or I shouldn't. So if they're not successful, I feel like it's our fault more than it's their fault, right? That's just how I'm wired. But because people stay with us in perpetuity, then we can add continuing education that'll help them along the way. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. So in 2022, interest rates, went up, and then they went up again, and then they went up again, and then they went up again, and nobody anticipated that they would go up as much and as often in such a short period of time. Now, the problem with that is if you were in any commercial project, any commercial deal, your projections are already in place at one interest rate because the cost of the money is something that we incorporate into our projections. Now, if you commit and you start construction and then the cost of money increases, not one time, not two, not three, but four times, it may have even been five. I know it was at least four times. Then guess what? Then you're not able to exit out of that project. Why? Because the permanent financing you planned to bring in, the money costs too much. So the income the project generates is no longer enough to service the debt. And I got caught. I got caught in that space. So I knew other people were going to be experiencing this. So I put a curriculum together, just one lesson together to teach people how to navigate the higher interest, right? So I reached out to all of our real estate family, said, hey, I'm going to put a workshop together this Saturday, and then I'll incorporate it into the ongoing curriculum. But I want to teach people how to navigate the real estate investing world when prices are too high and the cost of money is too high, because they both have the same effect. All right. So that's the advantage of having the continuing education. That's the advantage of having a program with no end date, because we get to the point where it's whatever it takes, and we don't always know what it's going to take. We had one student that was running into some difficulty because they had an LLC in one state, and then they went and foreign registered that same LLC in another state, and it got rejected because there was already an LLC in that state with that name, and they didn't know how to navigate that, and it was going to stop them from being able to close. So that's not something we put on our brochure. What do you do in that situation? So they called me, told me what it was. And in this particular case, I had to get on the phone with the closing company and say, hey, what's going on here? We got a foreign registration issue, Secretary of State issue. So what do we do? So long story short, I helped them form another entity just for the sake of this deal and then dissolve it when it was over. But I didn't know I was going to have to do that for those folks. And most of the time I have to jump in and just do it myself because it's faster and time will hurt you. Right. So again, I keep hitting the point. That's why we don't have an end date, because we don't always know what people are going to need. There's a lot of different ways to invest. We talked about the 25 different ways to invest in real estate last week. And I'll go over that again just so you guys, if I still have my notes, I'll go over it again so you can see how vast it is on the real estate investing side. So now let's take it into three categories. I want to get into real estate. I've got good credit, but I don't have any money. Okay, great. We are going to leverage that credit and we're going to do it responsibly. And I'm first going to teach you how not to over leverage, right? Any money you can get in a short amount of time with very little underwriting on the lender's part is going to be expensive, right? So we'll teach you how to manage that. We'll teach you how much money you can get, and I'll put you in touch with somebody that will actually get you the funding. But before you commit, you call me first. Just because you can get $150,000 doesn't mean you need to get $150,000 in financing. All right. So we need to have that conversation. So if you are somebody, no money, but credit, we're going to teach you how to leverage your credit responsibly to be able to invest in real estate. Let's say you're somebody with more capital and your credit took a hit. Hey, I got $25,000. My credit isn't where it needs to be. That's fine. I'll teach you how to invest in that situation. And what you guys will notice is I'm putting myself in the situation of the person that's having the challenge. And then I'm navigating them through that challenge as if I was doing it myself. All right. Hey, I've got good credit and I got about $20,000, $30,000. How do I start? Well, shoot, I could take it to the promised land with that. All right. Then it's just a matter of how much money do we want to make and how quickly can we make it? So I'll tell them what type of real estate investing is going to help them meet their financial objective the quickest. right? And folks, I manage people's expectation all the time. I can't afford to just sell you a dream because there's no end date. That means if I sold you a dream, I got to look at you 4 times a week for the next 4 or 5, 6 years, whatever it is, right? And I'm gonna have to answer for that. So everything we do has to be effective, and we operate in 100% truth and transparency. Um, Now, those three, what was it? Three is a person with money but no credit, the person with credit and no money, and there's a person with money and credit. Okay, so those are all, they're all going to start different ways. The commonality between those three is they should always start with the real estate investing education. That's something nobody can take away from you. I'm able to lose, lose, win, lose, win, all through my career because I got some education that helped me overcome all of the losses. I'll give you an example. So my intro, most of the time you guys will hear me say I took $585, and this is non-real estate related, and I went and generated a company that went on to generate 7 figures in the short time that I had it. $585. And I wouldn't have known to do that if 20 years prior I hadn't learned to do it with my notary company. So let me explain. This is I utilize an outsourcing business model. Okay. So years ago, I was I was a leasing consultant, right? I was a leasing consultant in the multifamily commercial industry, which is entry level into the multifamily commercial industry. Now, I had a good job just prior to that, and I was only making $15 an hour as a leasing consultant plus commissions. Now, I had a good job just prior to that working at the phone company for twice that amount, right? But somebody came into the phone company one day and said, anybody that resigns will give you $25,000 and 2 weeks pay for every year that you've been here. So in true Negro fashion, I'm sorry. I was like, I quit. I ain't never seen $25,000 in my whole life at one time. I was in my early 20s. I ain't never seen $25,000 in my whole life. So I called HR and I was like, hey, I want to change my W-4 to exempt. I was like, I want to see all that money. So I quit. And in 3 days, I had my little $28,000 check. And you think I invested it? I did. I invested it in a car with some 20-inch rims and TVs in the headrests. I was balling in my mind. That money was gone in 2 weeks, right? Now I'm sitting there 2 weeks, no job, no prospects, just a car with a car payment that I'm not going to be able to make. That car ended up getting repossessed. So I was like, oh man, I got to go back to work. So I went to become a leasing consultant, right? This is before I had a real estate license. This is like 2001. And I said, my dad was a notary, and he'd been trying to get me to get into real estate. And I've been telling him the whole time, I ain't never getting into real estate. I need to see my check every 2 weeks, right? I'm not doing that. I don't do commission. Lo and behold, right? So, so I was leasing apartments, but I was a notary public that specialized in notarizing loan documents. So I'd make like $100 a signing. So I was doing that, and I already have relationships with a lot of the closing companies. And what would happen is once I registered in the national database, any notary signing agent company across the country, if they needed something in my zip code, they would just go to that database, pick somebody, send them the hiring paperwork, and then we're off to the races. So I had 3 signings in one day, and I was working up in Oakland. I got off at 5. I had a signing in Oakland, a signing in Alameda, which is a neighboring city. Then I had a signing in Santa Cruz, which is like probably like 80 miles away, right? Now, this is how the outsourcing model came to me first. Now, I'm going to tie all this in a second. I did my first signing in Oakland, went to Alameda, did the second signing. Now, these signings typically take about an hour. If you guys have ever purchased real estate, you know how thick those loan documents are. And if there were 2 mortgages, because yes, this is back when there was 100% financing, it'd take even longer, right? It's maybe a 120-page document combined. So the second signing I went to, I remember it. It was at this attorney's house. And we're in there in the kitchen, and this person read every single word in that 130-page document. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to fix your face like you were prepared to watch somebody read 130 pages. And they had questions and they wanted to go over and this and that. I was there for 3 hours. Now, mind you, I got off at 5. No, I got off at 6. I had my first signing done by 7. Got to Alameda by 7:30. It's about 10 o'clock at night. I still got to drive almost 90 miles to do the last signing. I called them. I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to reschedule it?" The resident was like, "No, we've got to close. Like we've got to close. It's got to be in FedEx by morning." So 10:30 at night, I'm driving 80 miles. I get there at midnight. I'm there till almost 2 in the morning doing these stupid signings. I got home, and mind you, 2 in the morning, I got to be up and back in Oakland at 8:30, which in Oakland is an hour away from me. That next day, I said, I ain't never doing another signing in my life. So what I did was I went back to that paperwork that they sent me when they hired me. The agency hired me. And I was able to see, back then there was no Adobe Acrobat the way it is today, where you can manipulate documents and all that. So I typed up my new company name, right? And then I got a little piece of paper and I put my new company name over their company name and made a bunch of copies. So it was now my company name on all of the paperwork. So and I already have relations with title companies. So I called all the title companies, say, "Hey, I'm a national notary company. Anywhere you guys need a signing, just let me know." They were like, "Well, where do you service?" I said, the continental United States. And every time I got an order, I would just go into that same National Notary Association database, give them the paperwork, and then they would sign it. The checks would come to me. I charged $125 for a single signing, $150 for 2. And I would probably make about 50 to 75 off of those, and I give the rest to the notary. And I never did another signing, and I was a national signing agent company literally overnight, right? Now, let's fast forward 2 decades. I did the same thing, but on a much larger scale, right? Now we're talking about an outsourcing business model. And this ties into real estate too, especially when you get to the point where you're a seasoned real estate investor and now you just want to have a real estate investing business. I did the same thing 2 decades later that I can't go into detail about it because I can't go in 100% into detail, but I can tell you it was non-real estate related. It was in an industry where I had no experience and none of the equipment. It was just an idea. And I went out and hired the people that were already doing it and branded myself as doing that thing and just marked the price up. And I was able to do that multiple times, but the most recent time I did it, it went on to generate 7 figures. So these business models are out there and tie into every single thing that we do, right? I don't even know why I got on that. I don't even know why I got on that story, but it is possible to do something like that. I don't know why I got on that story. I feel like I just went off on a tangent. All right, let's get back into it. So how do I want to be a real estate investor? I don't know how. First of all, I got to see what resources you have, and I got to see what knowledge gaps we need to fill. So when somebody calls me, it's typically sounds like, "Hey, I've been following you for a few years. I heard you speak at such and such, or I heard you speak on Clubhouse, or I saw you on Instagram," or whatever it is, right? I've been doing this for quite a bit. And I want to get started in real estate. I want to be a real estate investor. So the first thing I asked them is, well, how much money do you want to make? How much money do you need to make, right? And what I'm talking about is, how much money do you need to make to replace the income that you're currently living on? And we have that conversation. And then in a roundabout way, it's hard to ask this question because you could rub people the wrong way by asking this question, but I'm straight with it. How much money do you have right now today? And some people are a little embarrassed. Some people say, I don't really have much, or I can hear them kind of beating around the bush. So I'll say, it doesn't matter if it's 0, doesn't matter if it's $1 million. It's all the same to me. I just need the information. And then based on the dollar amount they give me, then again, I put myself in their position and say, this is exactly what I would do if I was getting into real estate. If I didn't have any money, I'd do this. If I had no money and good credit, I'd do this. If I had money and credit, I'd do this. But the main thing is to break down what real estate investing really is, to manage people's expectations, because people are inundated with these ideas that it's get rich quick. I heard one person say that, if I could do it all over again, I would start with, a 200 unit apartment building. No, you wouldn't, because you would have did it when you started. There's a reason you didn't do it. All right. So people are inundated with all that type of marketing about becoming a real estate investor, because those are businesses that make money teaching people how to invest in real estate. I'm a real estate investor first, to the point where I use my real estate investing to supplement the mentorship program, which means there's been times where I could have sold an asset, went and bought another asset, but no, I put it into systems and automations and all of these other things to create a better end user experience, because I'm a real estate investor first. So getting into real estate is the easy part. Managing expectations is the tough part. Okay. Now, what else do we need to teach people? You got to teach people how to invest from a distance. That means having systems in place so you don't physically have to be at the property. I've got properties that I bought, rehab, rented out, sold, and never saw the property in real life, ever, not one single time. All right. I have property 5 and 6 years that we ended up, selling because, for whatever reason, put it in another project. The last 5 deals that I did, I started those deals. I acquired those properties without seeing them in person, and managed the rehab process all the way through, and then exited out of those properties. So I have to teach you how to invest from a distance. And yes, there is a way to do it safely, right? I didn't have a choice. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, folks. It's one of the most expensive places in the country on average. Now, there's places in the country that are more expensive, but I'm talking about on average: San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland, Menlo Park, San Mateo, San Carlos, Palo Alto, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, Silicon Valley, the whole Silicon Valley, Cupertino, Mountain View. Those smaller cities you never hear of, but they are more expensive than San Francisco, San Jose, and some of these other places. So for me to buy a fixer upper in my neighborhood is $1 million. That means I got to come in as a seasoned real estate investor. You got to come in with at least 10% if you're going to use hard money. That means I got to come in with $100,000. Well, why would I do that? I can go to another market and buy a 5-unit apartment building for $100,000, be free and clear, up the value, get my $100,000 back out of it, still own the apartment building, then go do it again in another market. So we teach people how to do that, right? So the hardest part about teaching somebody how to invest in real estate isn't necessarily the mechanics of doing it. It's giving them the correct set of lenses to see the real estate investing world through. And I'm going to focus on that in just 1 second. I'm going to tell you everything that your real estate investing world entails when you first start. Everything. Otherwise, it can get really overwhelming. I'm just going to scan and see if there's any questions. Yep, I see it all the time. Being a lender, you know what it is. All right. Okay, no questions there. And let me see. Thanks. You look at you guys sharing my live on TikTok. I appreciate that. We got a new TikTok page and we're trying to blow it up. And so luckily, we had one person sign up for our real estate family, and they saw us on TikTok. They saw it was me and I think it was a couple other people, but they were on TikTok, and they were like, "You were, man, you were teaching this real estate, and there was only like 5 of us in there, but you were teaching like it was 5,000 people in there." I know. I've been doing this a while, folks. It's all good. But sometimes when you're building a new page up and you go on live and you're talking to you're only talking to 3 people, and you got to go through that while you're building your page up. So we went through all that. And it's like having a birthday party as a kid and nobody shows up. You ever get that? You ever get that feeling? Welcome to entrepreneurship. And then you finish the live and then you scroll and you see some woman just cooking a hot dog in her pajamas, and she's got like 250 people watching. Anyway, I'm sorry. It's the world we live in. All right. So let's bring it back. Now, after we teach people how important it is to get the education, then we have to organize the real estate education in a way that's easily, I was going to say deployable, in a way that's not overwhelming. So what do we focus on first? Now, the 4 data points, you guys hear it over and over and over. 4 Data Points Academy, this logo you see on my head, that logo you see in the background, there's a reason why we center everything around that. And oh yeah, get it, Michelle. Get back in it, Michelle. There's a reason why we center everything around that, because the 4 data points it has 3 purposes. 1, it helps you focus. 2, it's a learning tool. And 3, it removes the emotional component of real estate investing. And let me talk about that third one really quick, because I get this a lot. And folks, keep in mind, I have a lot of conversations about real estate investing, not just from my students, but on these platforms where I'm always answering, where I'm fielding questions. This is what I get. Hey, Otis. Hey, this is so-and-so. I just got this deal, man. All right, cool. Tell me about it. Well, Pastor so-and-so down at the church has an uncle, Deacon so-and-so, who grew up on 173rd. And their father used to go to school with my father. Now, they started a business together back in the day. Now, that business they ended up selling later, but one of them passed away. And the business went to his wife, who's now selling the business and is going to come in with a little bit of money. Now, she has this see, all that, I don't need any of all that. And for somebody that my time, the value of time, I'm really, really cognizant of that, right? So I typically will have to interrupt one of my students and say, okay, I don't need the backstory. What are the 4 data points? Oh, okay. I just need those 4 numbers. I don't care how you got the property. I'm not concerned with the sentimental value of the property. I'm really not concerned with any conversations outside of these 4 numbers. Now, either they have these 4 numbers or they don't. Now, if it's one of my students, I'm going to tell them, go get the 4 numbers. And if they don't know how, then that's a learning opportunity. Then I'll take that time to teach them how to get these 4 numbers. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Okay. That's the first part. We manage risk first. I don't get excited when one of my students get their first deal. That doesn't excite me at all. I can throw a rock and get you a deal. I get excited when one of my students can explain to me how to avoid a bad deal, right? So now you can see the difference. That's why you guys don't see me highlighting everybody else's successes on our website. And we've got some testimonials and stuff like that. But you don't see me saying, hey, this is my student. They just got this deal, such and such, and putting it all over social media, because this is a long-term professional relationship. And getting a deal is not going to make you successful. Missing out on a deal is not going to land you into bankruptcy, right? But getting in a deal you weren't supposed to be in will. So we manage risk and we help people focus. And it's a learning tool. It forces you to focus on what's important. And then we teach you how to apply it to another asset class. So on a single family home, how do you figure out what it costs or what you're willing to pay? How do you figure out what it's going to be worth when you're done? I skipped one. How do you figure out what it's going to cost to fix up? And how do you figure out how much it'll rent out for? That's what we teach. That's the start. If you need example, you can use my listing in Poway, 130 39 Carriage Road, Poway, California. Oh, you got a listing? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ian. So I may, Ian, but they can't see my screen. Normally on my workshops, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we do this stuff in real time so people can actually see, what it is. Now, after we manage people's expectations, after we teach them how to minimize risk, right, by utilizing the 4 data points, then we'll teach them how to do it with a different asset class. So if you're moving up in asset class and you want to start investing in apartment buildings, which, by the way, is the natural progression of things, okay? Residential, then apartment buildings. Now, once you get into multifamily commercial, if you want to dip off into industrial or some other things, then we'll coach you through that also. But apartment buildings is the natural progression of things. So then we teach you how to underwrite multifamily commercial deals, right? And the people that, when I do a workshop, I'll typically give them a guide showing them how to underwrite multifamily commercial deals. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do an exercise with you guys. And I know you guys have seen it already. First of all, is there any new people that are just hearing me for the first time? Put a 1 in the chat. I'll go to Clubhouse. Put a 1 in the chat if you're hearing me for the first time. And folks on TikTok, put a 1 in the chat if you're hearing me for the first time. And the reason I'm asking is because I'll do this apartment example again, just so you guys can see what it is. And okay. All right. All right. So we've got a few people. Michelle, second time. All right. All right. All right. So let me do a quick reset. So let me do a reset on Clubhouse first. So you folks on Clubhouse, if you want to get in our database and be notified anytime we're doing a workshop or a room, go ahead and text the word yes to this number. You guys on TikTok, do the same thing because you can see the number right above my head, and that'll keep you in the know. Okay. I give away more free information and teaching than most of the real estate investing programs out there that you would have to pay for. Not that people appreciate it because it's free, and people typically don't appreciate it until they got to pay for it. But it's all good. That's what I do. All right. All right. So we've got a few people. Now, put a 2 in the chat if you want me to show you how the 4 data points works when we're buying an apartment building and how we use an apartment building and pay out of our exit strategy to secure an apartment building. If not, I'll get into something else. So put a 2 in the chat if you want to see how we buy an apartment building. And I know some of you guys have been following me a while. You didn't heard this many times. And how we pay out of our exit strategy. Okay. All right. What's up, Brenda on TikTok? I see you. All right. What's up, Meech? Thank you for sharing the room. Folks, can we get up to, how many shares we got? Why don't I see the shares anymore? I used to see it, but I don't see it anymore for some reason. Why don't we, let me see. All right. All right. This is just what it is. Thank you guys for sharing the room. All right, let's get after it. Michelle and Miracle K. All right. The rest of y'all done seen it already. You're like, I don't see no more apartment building. All right, so I'm going to pull this example up on my side. I'm going to go slow because when you start talking about multifamily commercial, it is a completely different ball game. It's easy for me for 2 reasons. And one of them is not because I'm smart. Right? It's easy for me because I spent, 2 decades in the multifamily commercial industry, and my focus was operations. And a lot of these programs, these real estate investing programs, will focus more on the acquisition. Hey, here is how you underwrite a multifamily commercial asset. Here's how you buy it, and here's how you exit. But the operations is far more important than just the acquisition, because you can't talk about generational wealth if you keep selling everything. So you're going to have to keep some stuff. And the stuff that you keep, you are going to have to manage. Now, I'm going to go over this example, but it is not the end all be all. So I want to explain how I approach something like this with my students first, so you guys get the entire picture, okay? If one of my students has a multifamily commercial building that they are looking to purchase, we have a call and we underwrite it together. We look at all of the information that they have together. If there's any conversations that need to be had with the seller and they're not comfortable doing it, I will have the conversation and they can just listen in. Now, I don't get anything out of this. I don't get part of their deal. It's all them, right? But because I believe it's such a good training exercise, I say, look, I love it that you're bringing this to me before you're ready. And I love that you're uncomfortable, and I love that you're out of your comfort zone. Let me ease some of that pain. Just sit back and listen. I'll take the call. You just sit back and listen. And I'll do it until you feel comfortable talking on your own. And then after the call, you and I'll debrief, because I love extracting all the learning lessons from all of these things, okay? And then once we secure the building, right, once we go ahead and execute and they now own the building, then I'll coach them through, okay, this is the rehab process. They're probably already well versed by this point, because during the purchase process, we've already done all the inspections. We know exactly what we're going to have to do to fix the property up. We've already checked with the municipality to make sure there are no triggers that warrant any code violations or code requirements with respect to getting 100% up to code. Mainly if you improve a property over 50% in some areas, you got to incorporate a bunch of other stuff. It's no longer grandfathered in. So we look at all that stuff in the pre-planning phase. And then once we own the building, we close, we own it, we've done the rehab, I've taught them how to get it leased up. Now operations. So I also have to figure out what systems do they need to be able to run this apartment building. I'm talking about from a screening system, your renewal system, and these are just standard SOPs, right? Your service request system, okay? Your deposit accounting system. All of these things I have to teach them. So depending on what the scenario is, at the 4 Data Points Academy, we teach real estate investing, yes, but there's curriculum within the curriculum that we have to teach that are kind of one-offs. And we have a program called Landlord Launchpad where I teach people how to be landlords, right? So I just want to manage people's expectations. It's not just teaching people how to buy the property and pay for it out of your exit strategy. There is a whole bunch you have to learn in the acquisition and in the operations. Okay. Now, that being said, now imagine, you like the way my voice changed up? Now imagine there's a 10-unit apartment building. And now the issue with teaching or going over these examples is if you're not familiar with multifamily commercial, there's things within this explanation that you may not understand. If you don't understand what a cap rate is, I kind of have to give you an overview on the spot. So this may take a little longer for that reason, okay? But let's look at the building. Imagine a 10-unit apartment building. 6 units are occupied, 4 units are vacant. Now the vacant units are vacant because they need a facelift, okay? Now the 6 units that are occupied are getting $500 a month. So you can do that math there. So the building is getting $3,000 a month. The market rent in that area is $700 a month, but probably got some tenants in there. You can't go ahead and rehab it or do anything because tenants live there. But you can rehab those 4 vacant units. You can give them a facelift so you can get the $700 a month. There's no mortgage on this property, and the neighborhood cap rate is 6.5%. What is a cap rate? A cap rate is the relationship between a building's net operating income and its market value. When a building sells, we assume that that is the market value. So if a building down the street had a net operating income of $30,000 and okay, sound went off. Okay, so let me do this real quick. Let me get this sound back up for Clubhouse, and we're gonna jump right back into it. All right, Clubhouse, I'm gonna get y'all back in 1 second. All right, let's see if we can do this. We taking a commercial break? Don't worry, I'm gonna get y'all squared away. Told y'all I was gonna learn something. Y'all gonna learn something today. All right. Okay, so I think we are back there. All right. Now let me bring Clubhouse. There we go. We're back, Clubhouse. Thank you to that person that said, did the sound go out? I'm on Bluetooth for Clubhouse, so if it goes out, just let me know. All right. I'll tell you guys when I'm getting ready to stop speaking, like sipping coffee or something like that. All right. So we got a 10-unit apartment building. 6 are occupied, 4 are vacant. The 4 that are vacant could get $700 a month if they were in better shape. Okay. There's no mortgage on the property. The neighborhood cap rate is 6.5%. A cap rate is a relationship between the net operating income of a building and the market value. And the market value could be what it's sold for. So if a building sold for $300,000 and the net operating income was $30,000, 30,000 divided by 300,000 is 10%. That's the cap rate. You take the average cap rate in the area and use that cap rate to determine what your building is worth. We're going to assume that our building has 20% expenses. Now, most investors will say you should calculate 35 to 45% for expenses. There's a reason I'm only doing 20% on a 10-unit building, but just trust most of those investors weren't overseeing $650 million in multifamily commercial assets. So if I say it's 20%, it's 20%. In this case, there are cases where I'll use 35 and 45%. Okay. Now, those are the 8 details of this apartment building. I'll go over them again. 10 units, 6 occupied at $500 a unit, 4 vacant, right? Market rent in the area is $700 per unit. No mortgage on it. If there was a mortgage, we would structure this differently. The neighborhood cap rate is 6.5%, and we allocate 20% for expenses. Okay. The documents that I'm going to utilize in this, I'm going to use a purchase agreement to put an offer. There's going to be a promise to pay because I'm not paying up front, so that's a note. There's going to be a deed involved because ownership is going to be transferred, and there's going to be a security instrument. In order for the seller to want to work with me, I've got to have a security instrument in place so that if I default on the note, it gives the seller the power to foreclose. All right. Now, step one, we're talking about the 4 data points. Step one in evaluating this apartment building, and we're paying. Oh, by the way, I have no money. So that's one of the caveats here. I have no money. So I'm buying this apartment building I don't have any money. Step one, I got to determine the value by calculating the net operating income of this building divided by the cap rate. Well, we already have that information, so it's just simple math. What's going on, Terrence? So it's just simple math. $3,000 in income that it's already making. Remember, we had 6 units at $500 a unit. Times 12 months, it's grossing $36,000 off the bat. Back out 20% for expenses, your net operating income is $28,800. Now we just stick to the formula. A building's value is the net operating income divided by the cap rate. We know our net operating income is $28,800. We know the cap rate is 6.5%. $28,800 divided by 0.065 is $443,077. That is what the building is worth based on the financials, not based on what I think it's worth, not based on the sentimental value because our son Timmy grew up there, not based on what the building next door sold for, based on our financials. This is not like 1 to 4 units, okay? So we've established what the building is worth. Now we got to negotiate it, okay? So I approached the owner, say, hey, and I'm going to skip ahead. I'm not going to spend too much time on dialogue. Hey, owners, I'll give you what your building's worth, but I got to delay payment 90 to 120 days, but I'll guarantee payment. In fact, I'll give you another $20,000 for your trouble. Now, the $20,000 for their trouble is important because without that, and if they wanted to sell, they could just sell it. They can't dispute what the building is worth. So I think $20,000 over what the building is worth is satisfactory for most people, okay? Now, the building's current value is $443,077, and I got $20,000 on top of that, okay? Now, step 3, value add. None of this works if I can't make the building more than I bought it for, if I can't make it worth more than I bought it for. So I always incorporate a vendor. I use a landscaper. You could use any vendor. And I'll approach this vendor and say, hey, look, I got to clean this building up. How much for a power wash and maybe plant some flowers? The vendor says $2,500. I'll say, all right, you give me a net 120, I'll double it and I'll keep you on. So now I owe this vendor $5,000 and I got to put that on my tab, right? Net 120 means he'll invoice me, I'll pay him out of my exit in 120 days. Now, I don't have any money and I got to fix those 4 units up because the way we increase the value for multifamily commercial is increase the net operating income. So if I get those units fixed up, get them rented out, my gross income is more, back out 20%, my net operating income is more, so the value is higher. But I don't have the money to fix those units up, so I got to go borrow it. Now, I never borrow money for a property that I don't own, which is why I had these sellers deed the property over to me. And we secured what I owe them for the property as a debt, and we attached it to the property so that if I run off to Mexico and never pay them, they could just default and get the property back, okay? Now I'm going to use a consumer lending site because $32,000, right? $32,000 divided by 4 is $8,000. There's 4 units that are vacant. I could do a facelift for $8,000 a unit. So I go to like lendingclub.com or Best Egg or whichever one you want to use, doesn't matter. Friends, family, IRA, wherever you get it, doesn't matter. You're going to pay it back. Now, if I use a consumer lending site and I need $32,000, I'm going to borrow $34,000 because I ain't got no money. So I'm going to use that extra $2,000 to start paying them back. Perfectly fine. They're going to want to start getting paid within 30 days. They ain't going to do no net 120. I mean, you could do a net 120, but your credit going to be tore off by the time you finish. So I'm building up a tab. So I owe the seller what the building is worth, $443,077. I gave them a $20,000 incentive to work with me. Put that on the tab. I owe the landscaper $5,000. Put that on the tab. And I owe lendingclub.com $34,000. And I already started paying them back with their own money, right? So step 4, I rehab those units. Step 5, I lease those vacant units at $700 a month. Now I got the building occupied. 4 units are getting $700 a month, and those 6 units that were getting $500 a month are still in place. So that's a total of $5,800 a month. Now we do the same math that we did before. The original $3,000 I was getting plus $2,800 is $5,800 a month. $5,800 a month times 12 months is $69,600. $69,600. We back out 20% for expenses. Our net operating income is $55,680. We do the same math we did before. Net operating income divided by the cap rate equals value. 55,680 divided by 0.065 is $856,000. Well, 856,615. We just increased the value that much. Now, if I ask any one of my students right now, what do we do next? Anytime you increase the value, the next thing is to exit. You're going to do one of two things. You're going to keep it or you're going to sell it. If I were to sell it at $856,000, minus points and fees, of course, I can pay off that $502,077 I owe everybody and walk away with a nice chunk of change, roll it into another apartment building, a bigger one. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a cash out refinance for the value. I can get a mortgage for 80% of that value. $685,292 is going to be that mortgage amount. How much do I owe everybody? $502,077. It's simple math, folks. $685,292 minus $502,077 leaves how much? $183,215 tax-free in my pocket. It's not a taxable event. There's no capital gains tax, right? And I can do whatever I want with that money. Now I'm going to put it into another cash flowing asset, maybe leave some reserves for this building. But look at what I did. Okay, look at what I did. I assessed the building first to see if it was even worth doing. What does it cost, or what am I willing to pay? It wasn't for sale, so I just looked at the financials to see what it was worth, and that's what I was willing to pay. What does it cost to fix up? Well, there was 4 units that were vacant. I can go in there, I can do a facelift at $8,000 a unit. How do I know? Because I've done it over 100 times in the multifamily commercial industry. I knew it was going to be 32 grand. Right? That's not a major rehab. That's all just cosmetic stuff. So that's an easy thing to do. Right? Then I took control of the property. This is the magic pill. I took control of the property before I paid for it. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't obligate myself to paying for it, but I took control of the property, meaning I got my name on that deed before I actually paid for it. And the only evidence of that is when we walked away from that closing table, that seller is no longer the seller. That seller is now the lender. They got repositioned as the lender because I'm the property owner now. And there's a lien in favor of the seller. Why do we do it that way? That protects the seller from any funny business. And we go through escrow or closing attorney, so everything is legitimate, right? And if I default, seller can just get it back. Seller didn't have to trust me, didn't have to like me, they can get it back, okay? Now, once I did that, then I just had to consider, okay, there's got to be a balance. Now we're managing expectations. We already know we made $183,000. Actually, I'm sorry, folks. Let me take it a bit further. We made $183,000 within probably 4 months on this one. Now it could be 4 to 6 months. You can move the numbers around to make it work for you, right? It's all based on what you can negotiate, all right? But let's fast forward 2 years, and this is why I'm a fan of multifamily. All right. W. Dave, go ahead and go on mute, brother. I'm going to get to you in 1 second, sir. This is why I love multifamily. So we made $183,000 out of the cash out refinance. I still own the building. Okay. I still own the building. Fast forward 2 years. Let's do some more math. The original units were getting $500 a month, right? That was a $6,000 a month it was already making when I found the building. We leased those 4 units, those vacant 4 units after we fix them up at $700 a month. Let's assume we don't raise those 4 units rent for 2 years. We don't even touch it. Now we should, but we don't even touch it. But over the course of 2 years, we start managing those other rents up. Not all at one time, just a little bit. Maybe we'll go to $600 per unit after the first year lease expires, and then we'll go to $700 a unit. So now we got a building that is, now I'm gonna just do this math. I don't have this worked out in my notes, but I'm gonna do this math. Now we got a building that's getting $700 a unit for 10 units. That's $7,000 a month. We're gonna do the same math, folks. That's $7,000 a month, which is $84,000 a year. We back out 20% for expenses. So we got 84,000 times 0.80. That puts us at 67,200. We do the same math that we did before. The net operating income divided by the cap rate, right? 67,200 divided by 0.065 is 1,033,846 and change. Okay. 1,033,846 and change. What do we do when we add value? We can do a cash out refinance times 0.80, 80%. I got a mortgage for $827,076. But I already had a mortgage on there of $685,292. So when I get a new mortgage, what happens to the old mortgage? The new mortgage pays off the old mortgage. The new mortgage is in place and I keep the difference. So $827,076, which is the new mortgage, minus the $685,292 that I had to pay off. It's $141,000. I've done this many times. That leaves $141,784 that I get in my pocket tax-free. It's not a taxable event. It's just a loan against an asset. So let's look at that $141,784 that I got 2 years later, plus the original $183,215 I made out of the initial transaction. It's $325,000 off of this one building. $325,000. That's math. There's no part of the math that you can dispute. That's how it's done. Now, do I make this example a lead generation for the general public to come in and say, hey, look, I can teach you how to buy apartment buildings for no money out of your own pocket? No, I do not. Why? Because I got to manage people's expectations. There's a lot that has to be in alignment for this to work. There's a certain balance you have to maintain as a real estate investor with respect to how you leverage a building versus the income that it generates. All those things have to be taught. You got to teach somebody how to articulate what you're trying to do to a potential seller who may not be a savvy real estate investor. Right? When interest rates increase significantly, you could run into a situation where your cash out refinance, the property no longer generates enough income to service the debt. So you can't do the cash out refinance, at least it's not for as much as you would like. You can't increase the rents to cover the debt because you could price yourself out of the market. So all of these things tie in to each other. So that's why we don't use this for like a clickbait. It is possible to do. You could do this on a 10-unit building. You can do this on a 2,000-unit apartment development, right? There are no limitations to what you can do this on, but understanding all of the different details and how to navigate those details within the process requires education and experience, right? This is very dangerous financially. It's very easy to get into some of these apartment buildings and not be able to get out of them, right? So we got to do our best to mitigate risk and so on and so forth. All right. I know that wasn't easy to digest for somebody that is not in multifamily commercial investing, but did you guys on Clubhouse get kind of a sense of what you're able to do over time? Even if you can't do it exactly like that, you know that those strategies are possible to be able to do. You folks on Clubhouse, hopefully you guys were able to absorb some of that. All right. All right, hold on. So you guys ever get tired of hearing yourself talk like I do? All right. I think it was W Day 9834. What's going on, brother? Did you have a question? Hold on, FGA Jones. 1 second, man. I'm going to put you on mute. Just 1 second, brother. W Day 9834. Going once? Going twice? All right. FGA Jones. What's going on, brother? FGA Jones? Is it FGA? There you are.
What's going on, bro?
What's going on, sir? How can I help?
Can you hear?
Yes, sir.
Pretty good, pretty good. I just came across your page. I was just tuning in, getting a lot of information. Sound good. Real estate been something I've been interested in a while. Just trying to figure out what to start and put pieces together. That's about it. Just here for the knowledge.
Amen.
See what's up.
I would say start with the real estate education. So you got some. So he says for you guys that couldn't hear, he's got some feedback, but he says he's been wanting to get into real estate, just not sure how to start. I'm going to say start with the knowledge. You folks that I say start with the knowledge. It doesn't necessarily mean just go to my website and sign up for mentorship. If you are genuinely interested in investing in real estate, I'll send you some information, maybe a strategy or two, so you can kind of practice on your own. So even if I never see you again, you have that's something of value, and you can improve your real estate investing skills based on some of those basics. And then, my information is on there. So feel free to reach out to me after that if you want, a professional, long-term professional relationship I hate using the word hold your hand, but kind of hold your hand from inception to the promised land. I'm more than happy to do that.
All right.
Where are you from, Mr. Jones?
I'll do that. I'm located in Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. My last 5 projects were out in Atlanta. I'm actually a real estate broker in Atlanta.
Okay.
So you see that phone number above my head?
Awesome.
Mr. Jones, you see that phone number above my head? All right. So Mr. Jones, if you can hear me, that phone number above my head, just go ahead and text the word yes to that phone number, and I will send you some information.
All right, I'll do that.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. All right. What time is it? 8:47. All right. So I'll field some more real estate questions, whatever real estate questions you guys have. I'll be more than glad to answer them. If there are no questions, I think I'm gonna tap out. I think I'm gonna go on daddy duty and go take my little man to the park. Folks, 4 Data Points Academy. The website is www.4datapoints.com, the number 4 DATAPOINTS. You guys that are entrepreneurs, we have something coming up under our Ventured You program. We are going to Medellin, Colombia. I have a villa out there that I've secured, 17 rooms. I've got a private chef. I've got concierge. We've got stuff to do with the villa and stuff to do out in town. It is a business retreat for people that either have an idea and want to turn it into an actual business, or people that are already in business and are looking to scale their business up. These are for people that are at the $0 to $10 million mark. If you are currently in business and you are making, your business has more than 10 million in revenue, this retreat is not for you. That's a different level. I would have to bring in different consultants for that. My goal is to take people from 0 to 10 million. And again, I don't teach anything that I haven't done on my own. And every aspect of business is not my area of expertise. So I am flying in consultants to address every aspect of your business that you would need addressed. If you want more information on that, text the word business to that phone number, 702-710-8030. It's in the chat on Clubhouse, and it is above my head on TikTok. All right. Any tips on productivity, efficiency for your workday? Oh my goodness, that's a good question. That is a really good question. Make a list in the morning. Make a list in the morning or the night before, all right? And get up early. What do they say? Sleep is the cousin of death. Get up early. Make a list the night before or early in the morning and adhere to that list the entire day. The things that you don't get done, put them on the list for the next day. But after you do your list, go ahead and prioritize the things that are on your list. What I prioritize is the things that are going to generate revenue first, right? As a business owner, we have a responsibility for executing the vision and taking the company in the direction that it needs to go. My time is not best spent in Canva doing designs for social media, right? Even though I love doing that, and I do spend more time in there than I should. I like it, but that's not the best use of my time. So look at your list, figure out what you can outsource and what you can't. There's certain things that I do outsource, incoming phone traffic, stuff like that. I'll go ahead and outsource. And I have people on the lending side I have an underwriter that is looking at all of the deals on the lending side to see how we can get people funded the best. And I've got some more people that are kind of helping me out on the back end. But do a list, check it twice, and at the end of the day, you'll either be naughty or nice. Ugh, that was a dad joke. Am I getting old? Oh, I'm getting old. That wasn't even funny. That was a dad. Oh man, that's horrible, man. Getting old sucks. I'm sorry. Am I still? I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. Okay. All right, we're back. All right. So hopefully that was that's helpful. Um, Managing a list is probably the things that got me through, especially as a business owner, because it's easy to get discouraged with this stuff. It's easy to get discouraged. As a matter of fact, if you're not discouraged at some point as an entrepreneur, I need whatever you're on. That's that high grade MDMA. All right. You guys know what I mean. So yeah, it can be very discouraging. A list helps, right? Be careful who you surround yourself with, right? It's better to be alone than be around people that aren't supporting your cause. I'm not saying supporting your business. I'm saying supporting your cause, right? And I think that's one of the toughest things. As a matter of fact, let's switch it to entrepreneurship for a while. Any entrepreneurs in Clubhouse, put a 1 in the chat if you're an entrepreneur. If you're a business owner, Clubhouse, put a 1 in the chat. You folks on TikTok, put a 1 in the chat if you are a business owner. Somebody invited me to a private. I always feel weird when on Clubhouse, when you get that alert at the top that says, hey, Tyrone invited you, wants to talk. He invited you to a private room. I don't seem weird to y'all. All right. Okay. Work-life balance or isolate and go hard. I wouldn't say work-life balance because as an entrepreneur, there is none. I would say work-life harmony, right? Me as an entrepreneur, there's certain things that have to be expected with what I do. Okay. I know if I'm sitting in a house behind a computer, I am losing money. I got to be out there and making things happen and creating things and all of those things. So the biggest challenge, you got to be able to do this with no validation. You got to be able to do this with no support. You got to be able to do this not because of how things are going sometimes, but in spite of how things are going sometimes. And one of the rawest example I can give is when somebody's an entrepreneur and we have that first conversation, the first thing I do is look at their social media. And I've slipped into these conversations because I've had people that called for consults or wanted to know about mentorship that didn't have any money. And I was already I don't know whether they thought it was an internship, but it was but I sometimes in my spirit, I'll be curious about a person's actual situation. When somebody doesn't have money, and folks, I know this is going to sound a certain way. So before I say what I say, just understand you're listening to somebody that has lost everything at one point, everything had to go back on food stamps for 2 months after making, hundreds of thousands of dollars, nowhere near where I am now. I'm talking about back in the day, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and had to go work at a newspaper plant, lost all the houses, cars, couldn't even afford to store furniture, was trying to feed a family of 4. I've been through all the stuff, didn't have a car, had to use my bike to get around town. Like it got bad. All right. So when I say what I'm about to say, don't take it any type of way. I will say if you don't have any money in a country that's the easiest to make money on the planet, the reason you don't have any money has to be addressed. Now, sometimes it's not your fault, and it's no reflection of you as a person. It's not even a reflection of you as an investor. There's a lot of things beyond your control. So any of us could find ourselves in that position. But when you're in that position, the difference between the people that are successful and the ones who are not is what do you do when you're in that position, right? And that's a tough position to be in. Economic trauma, that will scar you, right? It'll make you afraid of debt going forward, right? So as an entrepreneur, you've got to condition yourself to be able to dig deep and find something there that is going to make you want to move forward. I look at my kids. My identity, and I'm not saying that this is right, my identity is wrapped up in my ability to protect and provide. If I lose one of those things, how I see myself as a man diminishes. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you guys what is. So if I'm in a situation where, my woman's got to, work more than than I feel like she should, or, she's got to, take the football and run it a few yards, that I don't not like, I'm not comfortable with that feeling. So I'm gonna go hard. That means I'm gonna get up early in the morning. I'm gonna post, then I'm gonna post again, then I'm gonna post again, then I'll go and jump on live stream. Then I'll go ahead and start returning calls and emails and contacts. Then I'll go into create mode. Okay, well, what can I create outside of what we're already doing? And I'll create other programs, and I'll have subject matter experts come and lead those programs. That's how I'm building my team, right? So there's a lot in the entrepreneurship side that you have to resolve internally to be successful in your real estate, and not just investing business, but as an entrepreneur, period. When we go to our Venture U retreat, that has nothing to do with real estate. One of the days, the days where we talk about investing, I'll speak on real estate investing, but there's a reason a lot of people don't make this. There's a reason most people aren't successful. Okay. There's a reason most people aren't successful. The people that are successful, listen, the people that are successful prioritize education and knowledge. I go to some of these cities, and in some circles, I pick up the check. I'll just say it. I pick up the check. That's not because I'm asked to. It's just because sometimes we find ourselves with a group of people, and I remember what it was like when I had lost everything and I couldn't afford to go out. But I would get invited because of who I am. I would get invited, and I would have so much anxiety about the check coming that I couldn't even enjoy myself, right? So I wouldn't even go. And I wouldn't want anybody that is out with us to ever have to feel that way. So I just got in the habit of always picking up the check, whether it was, 3 or 4 of us, or, if you guys been to some of my events, sometimes it was 30 or 40 of us, right? Which is not recommended. I won't be doing that anymore. But the people that I would see in some of these places, and even some of my, associates would be doing things. They call me and be like, "Hey man, Sunday fun day." Bro, you're broke. You just asked me for money to pay your rent last week. Sunday fun day. Nah, I'm gonna have to sit that one out. That energy is bad energy. What are you celebrating? The problem is you've been having too much fun for too long, and now you're in the position you are. Now, some people are broke and they're doing the right thing and they're doing everything right. Right. I know some single parents that are working a full-time job, paying for childcare, and everything they have, everything that comes in goes out. Okay. So those people I coach differently. I don't tell them, hey, you have to focus and will it and do it. I say, okay, let's look at what you're actually doing and see how we can get promoted or improve that situation. First thing that we got to do is make sure that we have the right attitude. All right. It's nobody's fault but ours. That's the number one lesson that you'll learn in entrepreneurship. It's nobody's fault but yours. Yeah, but what about, I had this manager that didn't like me, and, this person. It's nobody's fault but yours. Everything is your fault. You control your own destiny. Get that embedded into your head. If you can't, then you're not built for this. Positive self-talk is important also. There's times I look in the mirror, there's times I'll be complaining, and, fortunately for me, God has brought me through some things, and, he was gracious enough to show me that it was him, that it wasn't by happenstance. And so I have that to lean back on, right? I know I'm built for this. I know he didn't create me to be asking and begging and doing all that other stuff. So I already know what it is. I hold that. That is embedded into my psyche. And I think on the outside, sometimes that looks like an abundance of confidence. No, I just know what it is. If I walk into a room, I know he sent me there. And if he's behind me, who in that room is going to intimidate me? And I'm telling you the truth, folks. I've been in rooms with very powerful people, vice presidents of countries, right? Matter of fact, I got a video. You can go to my Instagram and see some of the, the officials that I've been. We took pictures and stuff, right? But as an entrepreneur, that is going to be the backbone. That's going to be the determining factor in whether you're successful or not, is what's in between your ears, how you see the world. Everything is your fault. No excuses. No excuses. All right. All right. Do I feel like, did I say that harshly? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to tell y'all the truth. Look, I think we'll do another room on entrepreneurship. I've got some other people that would be good to jump in the conversation. I think I'm gonna tap out. I think I'm gonna tap out. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go get a massage or something like that. You guys have my
Okay.
information. Where'd that voice come from? Oh, is that Ingrid?
It's Ingrid, yeah.
What's up, Ingrid?
I just want to make sure you sent me the info regarding the trip, the one in where are you going again? Colombia?
Medellin? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it is at. You got a pen, Ingrid?
No, I'm actually out at an appointment. So
Okay. You text me though, didn't you?
yeah, text business.
Oh, okay. So I'll go ahead and.
When is that event?
It is October 1st through the 6th.
Okay.
We're only taking 16 people, and
Oh, okay.
we are all going to be in the same house. Don't worry, we're not going to be. It's a big house. It's not. We're not going to be.
No, I'm not worried.
We ain't gonna
I'm
be.
not worried at all.
We ain't gonna be at the Howard Johnson Motel. All 16 of us trying to fit in. No, there's.
I'm not worried.
Yeah, I think there's more bathrooms than there are rooms, so it's all good. So I will send you the information, the website. You can look at the entire everything that we're going to be teaching, and it's going to be dope. This is the first one. I'm already planning the second one. The second one's either going to be well, we don't know yet. It's either going to be in Dubai or the Philippines. Not the Philippines, Thailand. So we'll figure that out. All right, folks. I'm tapping
I
out.
would really like for you to reach out to me because I'm looking for a mentor because I'm thinking about opening up my own brokerage this year.
Okay.
So I need some type of mentorship,
Amen. I can
if
call
you don't
you.
mind.
When are you going to be available today?
Yeah,
Okay. Can you give me an hour? I can call you, or we can set something up. Well, you text me, so we can set something up.
sounds good. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. See that, folks? I already know Ingrid's already successful, but I could tell. I could hear it in her and how she talks. She already
I
doing
want
something.
to really badly.
Yeah. No. There's just it's so fun, man. You guys got to start going on some of these retreats. It's the personal develop. So we have 3 divisions, right? So 4 Data Points Academy started out a real estate investing mentorship program. But you guys that have been following me for a long time, you know that to me, real estate is just a means to an end. I've been exposed to it my entire life. My dad was a real estate professional in 1971. We grew up in a real estate family. That's all I know is real estate. But I was doing really, really well in real estate at certain times and was miserable. And it was the personal development side of things that catapulted my career as a real estate investor, as an entrepreneur as a whole. And I've always wanted to create a curriculum for people, but one, I don't have the qualifications to be able to do that right now. I'm a speaker and I can speak on all of these different things on the different stages, but actual curriculum, I wanted to bring in somebody that had the credentials that was in alignment with my values to really bring people up in the area of personal development, right? Your image, right? Sales training, leadership. I wanted to offer those things. So I partner, and you guys have heard me mention this before, but it's not out yet. I partnered with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Alfred Smith. And Dr. Alfred Smith has got, well, obviously he's a doctor, right? he's got the credentials, but he got me through a really, really dark period about 20 years ago, right? And I've always wanted to put something together just so I can expose the rest of the world to him because there was so much value in what he did for me. So Ascend You is a program that he's going to be leading. And you guys are going to start seeing more of that. So when you hear that, when you see that name, Ascend You, inquire about it because it is going to be extremely helpful as far as personal development goes to people. So I'm excited about it already. All right, folks, look, I'm long-winded. Let me see. Mahmoud, I think I missed one of the comments, brother. Oh, in spite of the things that are going on. Yeah, amen. Work-life balance or isolate or go hard. Yeah, I'm going to go hard all the time. I'm going to go hard. I'm not going to be outworked. I'm not going to be outworked. All right, folks, you enjoy the rest of your day. Clubhouse, you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna stop this live stream so I can put so I can rock out to this